Here we are again on another Friday with a weekly update that Wellspring has been providing throughout this pandemic that began so many weeks ago. In fact, this is our 12th Friday update, which means we've been in this for many months together with you, and appreciate your ongoing support and encouragement as we've done so. Sean DeFore is with me again via video to provide some perspectives on some of the work that we continue to do. And I would just note that 12 weeks is a long time. It could even be a Netflix miniseries with that many episodes, but that's not what this has been about. This has been about really being attentive to the communication needs and the updates and so forth that our staff and families and residents and clients really need from us. And so we've been through a lot in these 12 weeks. We've shared some hard things and some successes. We continue to see those successes go forward. Sean can talk about that in a minute. But like you, we're looking at the data. We're listening to what authorities are saying. And when you look at the information that's available, the data is telling a good story statewide. And so we're seeing a significant drop in cases over time. And that certainly has been our experience as well at Wellspring. And so we begin to pivot a little bit with caution and care to maintain all infection control procedures and so forth, but we do begin a pivot pretty significantly now to what reopening will look like for Wellspring, and particularly for our senior population that has been in visitor restrictions for quite some time now. So Sean, why don't you pick it up from there for us?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Caution and vigilance, I think, are the two words I would use to describe this new phase that we're moving into as the state starts to reopen and allows more face-to-face and in-person contact to happen. We're trying to embrace that, but do it in a way that continues to keep our residents and our families and the community safe, knowing that we're not out of the woods yet, even though things have improved significantly in the state. So we will slowly start resuming face-to-face in-person visits with families. For now, we're trying to keep those to outdoor only, as that is the safest way to do it. And all of our facilities have their own process that they've come up with to support those kinds of visits. On the child and family side, we have parenting time and face-to-face visits with families in their homes that will begin resuming. And we will have, protocols in place around mask wearing and temperature checks, reviewing of key questions to make sure that we're staying vigilant so that we don't hopefully see a second wave, or at least we do our part to keep the spread of infection down in the time being. We are moving forward, but we are moving forward cautiously.
Yeah, thanks for the update on that, Sean. And I think there's another element to this reopening that we're thinking about a lot, talking about a lot, planning for a lot, but I'm not so sure most folks know about or understand, and that is that the fact that Wellspring serves vulnerable populations, let's say, across the age spectrum and across the state of Michigan, these folks we serve have been impacted like all of us, but because of their circumstance in life, because of challenges they may have been impacted differently. And so we're seeing that play out in different ways. Kids that haven't been in school for weeks and won't be until the fall, and that's even up in the air, and families that have been under stress, and folks that we serve in our substance use disorder programs, and certainly our seniors who, again, have not had visitors in many weeks. There are other effects to them that we need to be attentive to. So, Sean, talk about that a little bit and what our action plan is for that.
Sure, and we're starting to shift our focus on prevention, strengthening, and education with all of those whom we serve. We've definitely seen an impact in the psychosocial area, both for our residents and for our families and kids in the community. The impact to people's mental health from being isolated for 8 to 12 weeks has been pretty significant. So helping facilitate connecting with loved ones again in a really substantive way, helping to address some of the relationship issues that have come up through the isolation, and helping to address some of the trauma, frankly, that the people we serve have experienced as a result of this period is work that we're now starting to begin in earnest, as well as what you mentioned with substance use disorders. We've seen in a lot of ways get worse during this period of time, given the isolation that people have experienced. On the physical side, just as you mentioned, we've also seen some deterioration from the lack of movement, especially with our frail seniors. And thankfully, because of our work in physical rehabilitation and other forms of rehabilitation, we're able to leverage those skills and those tools to help people get back to strengthening their muscles and being healthy again. We had also invested before this started in some groundbreaking cutting edge technology that assesses gait and balance and movement to determine fall risk. And we're excited now that we can deploy that technology to create a baseline to see where people are, how much they've deteriorated, and help them begin to improve again. So we know that their risk of fall starts to go down, because it's certainly gone up during this period. And we're hoping that that's something we can provide through education, not just with our own clients and residents, but to the community as well in a next phase. And then finally, on the spiritual side, we've done a lot of work to try to keep supporting the spiritual needs of the people that we care for. We have chaplaincy in all of our facilities. We've been doing a lot of virtual services and virtual ministering to folks. And we're excited to find ways we can get back to doing that in person, but doing it safely as well. So attending to those behavioral, psychosocial, physical, and spiritual needs of those we serve is going to be our focus now for the next coming months.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. You know, it strikes us. We've been intentional all this time to pause when we can and identify and sort of count the blessings that have been put in place. In some cases, well in advance of our need for those blessings. And I'm thinking about, you mentioned the Virtue Sense technology. That was something we invested in last fall, not realizing how important and impactful that technology will be as we emerge from this pandemic. Who knew? And yet we'll add that to our list of blessings that we're keeping as we go here. So as we begin to wrap up our time together today, although we mark a 12-week mark here and note a significant pivot as we move forward, we will continue these Friday conversations because the dialogue really isn't over. We've got a lot to learn together yet. We will keep you updated on what we're learning, what those implementation steps are, where the opportunities for better service and more ministry lie ahead for all of us, and maybe even what your part can be in helping us as we, as a community, get to reconnect in face-to-face ways down the road. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us yet. So we're sort of calling this a moment, a milestone, if you will, a marker that we move forward from. We're not declaring victory. We're not declaring it over. But we are saying that the intense work of fighting the bug has pivoted to strong infection control procedures and so forth. And we turn now our attention to helping people recover and sort of reclaim and recollect their lives. And so that's what we do all the time. That's nothing new for us. Now we're doing it under the lens of recovering together from the COVID-19 virus. And so, again, I'll just wrap up by saying thank you for walking this journey with us. Many of you have been, directly encouraging us. We know all of you are supporting us. We appreciate that. We appreciate those prayers, and just continue to encourage you to bless one another, the people you're in contact with, by serving one another. That's the Wellspring way, and appreciate you joining us on that. So God bless.